What is up, y'all? Back today with another edge retention comparison video. Today we are taking this budget knife. This is a $60 Miguron Celora that I had a buddy do some Cerakote on for me, but these have 19C27 steel that is hardened to 63 to 64 Rockwell, which has been verified. Not this particular one, but a few models have been verified by third party, Taylor Hardness, to actually be that hard. And so I wanted to take a hard, high performance budget steel on a budget knife and compare it to a tried and true steel on a premium knife. So this is a Neeve knife Misdemeanor. These come in at around $300 and it is K390 steel. Now I haven't seen any of the K390 here independently tested. I am going to send this one off here shortly to have that done. So we don't necessarily know the hardness of this one. And I think that may add a layer to this comparison. Now let me go ahead and start with a disclaimer of the way that I do my comparisons. This is demonstrative. I want to just kind of show how the average changes on the best tester before and after some use. I know there are a lot of variables at play there, and I don't want this to be taken as an end-all be-all or anything scientific. I just know we can make cuts and cut paper and see how it I like putting some numbers to it to see how it changes. I know this best tester can be faked very well, and it can be faked to show things to be either more or less sharp than they actually are. And I think for the sake of actually just trying to fake it to make it seem like something is sharper or more dull, say, oh, it's a low number, it's better, anything like that. I'm not trying to necessarily just show how sharp they are. I'm trying to show how much it's changing. I'm taking averages both times. So I'm doing multiple tests, taking an average, and then taking multiple tests again afterwards to show how much it changes, not just to say, oh, hey, this is actually this sharp below 100 or whatever. So I try to do it as consistently as I can with bringing it down in one spot. There are ways to fake this by shearing or actually slicing into it or doing it very fast. I take it slow, I take it straight down. I know these aren't perfect, but I do it the best that I can. And just to put some numbers to demonstrate this. So I know there are lots of factors at play here. People let me know every time I do these, but I do these because I find them interesting and I like comparing them to what we know, to what we see on paper, and how just some like regular use with some cardboard and rope changes. This was inspired, these types of tests were inspired by me actually using knives that are supposed to have higher edge retention on paper, but then I'll cut some cardboard or something with them and they seem to dull out pretty fast. And so I was like, well, I wish I could kind of compare this or put some numbers to this or something like this and see it myself. And so I would be doing this without filming it every now and then just for fun anyway. I just film it for you all because I think enough people out there find it interesting. But that's enough about that. Let's go ahead and get into these. So these have both been sharpened to 17.5 degrees per side. So the edge angle is the same. Now, one of the other things I want to kind of compare and just talk about as I'm doing this test is the actual ease of use. How easily is it passing through that material? And how does it hold up? Like, what does the use feel like? So this Neeve Misdemeanor is coming down to, it looks like around 12 thousandths, 11 thousandths, 12 thousandths behind the edge, and it is a hollow grind. And I think that is going to give it a better performance, but I think the edge angle ultimately is what's going to affect the edge retention. So for the Miguron Celora, this is around 15 thousandths behind the edge. So while I think this is not going to pass through material quite as easily as the Misdemeanor, the edge angles are the same. So the factor that can affect edge retention is the same here. So these both have been sharpened to 1000 grit, again at 17.5 degrees per side, and they are very sharp, very, very sharp. They can both shave hair very easily, and they can both, of course, slice through paper very easily as well. And we will do this again after the fact. Now, normally I do 150 cuts through cardboard and 50 cuts through rope. Today I'm going to double that up and actually take it further. I'm going to do 300 cuts through the same length of cardboard for these and 100 cuts through rope, so we can really take these apexes down and see how they hold up and how they compare. So let's just go ahead and get some initial numbers on the best tester, and we will go ahead and start with the 19C27. For the Misdemeanor, all right, so for the initial sharpness on the Miguron Celora in 19C27 steel, we had 118 grams on average to cut that line, and the K390 had an initial average of 126 grams on average to cut that line. Very close results. So let's go ahead and put these to work and come back and see how they hold up. All right, regarding the performance of these, I went with the Miguron first, and it did pretty well. It felt pretty comfortable in the beginning. One of the reasons I'm not like a huge fan of backlocks. So if I wanted to choke up here, then my thumb was left on the jimping of this kind of thin blade, and that started to get uncomfortable. But if I wanted to come back here, then I'm really pushing up against that flipper tab, which was uncomfortable kind of on my finger. So I was kind of struggling just a little bit going back and forth. Nothing detrimental, but if you're going to be using this to make 400 cuts through rope and cardboard in one sitting, something to keep in mind. Otherwise, I mean, this thing performed pretty great. That big belly actually did really well with the cardboard and definitely helped with that rope kind of getting down into that very easily. Really happy with the performance for this thing, especially for 60 bucks. Now, the Neeve Misdemeanor in K390. This thing was designed with comfort and performance in mind. I mean, this thing felt significantly better without that flipper tab there. The stock on this one is just a little bit thicker overall, and that just kind of made a good bit of difference with being able to have my thumb either back here or right up here. So it was a little more comfortable throughout all of that use. And of course, that hollow grind made passing through that material a little bit easier. It wasn't a world of difference as far as like the actual like ease of use with the cutting geometry, but it was noticeable. But of course, on a knife that's $300 compared to $60, that's to be expected. So the edges both held up, I would say, like pretty well. They got it through all to the very end, like noticeably better than a lot of the steels that I've tested in the past. I think there might be a little bit of microchipping going on. I did clean these off with just a rag and some alcohol to get any kind of like leftover adhesive off the apex. We still see it on the bevel there, but I did kind of brush these just on a microfiber cloth with some 90% rubbing alcohol to get any of that away. This one definitely feels like the apex probably sustained a little bit more kind of chipping damage. Maybe some rolling, probably more likely chipping with that high hardness, but like nothing detrimental. Like maybe one or two little spots where I'm feeling a little bit of bump going in and out. Let's see how these cut paper. So we can see that it is significantly rougher to cut that paper with that 19C27. I'm trying to really span the length of the used portion of the blade here. So we can see it when it's in that heavy use area, it's really catching up. So yeah, there's definitely, the edge has sustained some damage there. So let's get that used belly portion. Are we shaving? We are not shaving at all, even a little bit. Nothing. If I go up here, I can still catch some, but that portion of the blade didn't see too much use. Try to keep it the use here and the testing here, because that is the section that ends up on the best tester wire as well. And we can kind of see where the range where a lot of that testing took place right there. So let's see how the K390 on the Neeve Misdemeanor held up. So similar, where it's feeling more rough, but it's not quite. Yeah, definitely a noticeable difference. We got a few little stopping points right there too. But you know, if I take it quick, it's still getting through it pretty well. Little bit of a drop, but we'll see what the numbers on the sharpness tester tell us. And I don't believe this one is going to be shaving on that portion of the blade. Not at all. Nope. Maybe catching a stray up on the upper and lower side of the blade. It's still shaving, but in that center where we saw that portion where we saw the use, not getting any shaving done. So let's go ahead and start out with the 19C27 on the best tester. Now for the K390. All right, so the initial average for the $60 Miguron and 19C27 steel was 118 grams to cut that line. The average after the rope and cardboard went up to 299 on average, or an increase of 181 grams to cut that line. For the K390 on the Neeve Misdemeanor, $300 knife, the initial average was 126 grams. That went up to, on average, 262 grams, or a 136 gram increase. So it showed that the K390 retained about 28.4% more of its sharpness relative to the Miguron. So pretty good performance for the $60 knife. And of course, the $300, the K390 is going to be better, but I think that is exceptional for this, for a $60 knife. That high hardness, of course, I think we've seen a lot that hardness does have a lot to do with wear resistance and edge retention. There is no argument about that. So for, I think, the money for this, I think it is a pretty good performer, but of course the K390 is going to outperform it. So I'm going to get this K390 over to Taylor to get that hardness test as well. And let's give these a little strop and see how much we can improve their sharpness real quick. Oop. So let's just do a couple passes on this real time, and then I'll just take one test each, just out of curiosity. See how much of that edge we can get back. That was some significant loss. All right, so can it shave now after this drop? It can shave now after the stropping. Let's hit the K390. All right. Oh yeah, K390 shaving really good after that light strop. Let's see if we can get a number to it. 152. So that is a significance from 299 back down to 152 and being able to shave again. Very nice strop responsive steel on the 19C27. Stropping is great for maintenance. Get some diamond paste on there, makes a world of difference. Let's see how that K390 responded to the stropping. 146. So that went from 262 down to 146. Very impressive. Yeah, it does feel sticky sharp again. It can shave again. I got the scrap paper down here. Yeah, no issues with the paper again on the K390. Let's see, the Miguron was hanging up a little bit before. Yeah, no, we're not seeing that at all now. It's all crumpled up now too, even. So interesting results for the $60 Miguron. But yeah, I hope y'all found this one interesting. I certainly did. Thank you for watching.